Hello humans, it's not Martine, it's just Jenaneter, and welcome to this installment of the 12 more TBRs of Friendship. This is a series where we celebrate just Martine's 12 TBRs of Christmas by making 12 videos in 12 days, all inspired by Martine's wonderful content and the love we all have for her. In this video, some of us over at Bookish Reality decided to work together to read some of Martine's favorite books. All the books reviewed in this video are ones that Martine rated 5 stars and or considers a favorite of the year. So, Martine, this one's for you.
Hi humans, this is just Sam, or just Coffee, and definitely not just Martine. But I am here for my portion of this installment of the 12 TBRs of Friendship. I want to shout out Lizzie for putting this together for the non-booktubers, and also editing it and putting it on her channel. Thank you. And I'm going to tell you all about the book I read that Martine rated 5 stars. And it was a nonfiction book, which is different for me because I'm a fiction lover at heart. I read one nonfiction book a year, if I get that far. So this was a very lovely change of pace, and I thank you, Martine, for putting me on to this path. I read Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I did the audiobook version, which was lovely, and I read it at 1x speed. Thank you. Did not 3x this. I had a lovely leisurely time, unlike what Wonderthon has trained me to do. Yes. Speaking of that, I do want to shout out, before we get into the review part, Martine as a human being. Martine has been a part of Bookish Reality since 2023, and has been a part of the mod team for years as well, helping with readathons and a bunch of stuff, and is what introduced me to her YouTube channel and also to Wonderthon. Oh, Captain, my Captain, I'll follow you into battle and even make a YouTube video for you. This is dedication. This is friendship. Now let's get into the actual review, what you're probably here for. I am obsessed with the concept of this, that everything does boil back down to tuberculosis. This video boils back down to tuberculosis somehow. Don't ask me, ask John Green. He'd know. I want to go on rabbit holes now about like the Wild West tuberculosis towns. I want to know everything. I want to know if things have changed since this book was published, if the like inequality portion of the funding for tuberculosis care in non-first world countries has gotten any better, if it's gotten worse in this climate. I need to know everything. Thanks, Martine. How am I supposed to read my fiction books now if I'm learning about things that are happening in the world? The audiobook version was lovely. It was like a video essay for my ears. Some people would call that a podcast. But 5 hours felt like nothing. I was like, yes, and what's happening next? What's going on? So thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me, Lizzie, to this project, this super secret friendship project. I really appreciate it. The last part of this is just simply, thank you, Martine, for being you. You're lovely, and I'll see you around the block.
Hello humans, and hello Martine, it's just Jenaneter, also known as Just Rose, and I'm here for the 12 TBRs of Friendship. I want to start by giving a huge shout out to Lizzie for putting all of this together, and a big thanks for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm going to be talking today about a 5-star read of Martine's. This is Wool, and it's written by Hugh Howey. This book has been being recommended to me, I think basically since the day that it came out, over and over and over again by various friends. People are forever recommending this book to me, especially now that there is a TV show based on it. In spite of all of those recommendations over the last, I don't even know how many years, I have never actually managed to pick it up. So I'm really excited that this project finally actually got me to get it off the shelf and give it a read. And of course, everybody was right. This book is fabulous. It is exactly what I want out of science fiction. It was originally a short story, and then it got really popular, and basically the author took it and ran with it, and now it's kind of a sprawling series. There's a lot of different connected stories. I haven't read all of them, which means that there's more to come for me, which is really exciting. I want to focus on the original short story, which is just itself called Wool, because I think it's a really effective piece of short fiction. And I really love short fiction. I love novellas. I really love short stories, and they're not always that well done. A lot of authors who write beautiful, longer pieces of work, when faced with writing a short story, often get bogged down or include things that are maybe not necessarily what we really need as short story readers. So I was really impressed and excited to read uh, this beautiful, very short story. It's about 50 pages when you're just taking the original story, which is a pretty brief story. One of the things that I really, really love about this book is that it really doesn't feel the need to overly explain things to me. And it's true in every piece of fiction that I consume, whether that's full-length novels, novellas, short stories, even television, movies. I really don't want things to be explained to me in a ton of detail. This is especially true if I'm reading a short piece of fiction where I know that I'm only going to get a certain number of pages. I really don't want to spend a lot of time with the author feeling like they have to explain what is happening to me in a lot of detail. I don't want to be spoon-fed the world building and the character dynamics and all those things. I really just want them to happen in front of me. Just jump in and I will figure things out as we go along. And I really love that Wool does this, and it does it really beautifully. It really just jumps right into the story. There's not a lot of build-up. There's not a lot of setup. There's really not a lot of quote-unquote world building in the ways where they're like laying it all out and explaining how it works. Really, Howie just throws you into it and says, grab on, we're going for a ride. And that's what I love. And especially, again, in a short story where we've got to do it all pretty quickly. So I really love that element of it. It makes me very excited to see all of the things that are going to be ahead. I think when you take a short story and have it as its own little complete thing, and then you decide, okay, actually we're going to expand this, we're going to add more, we're going to do more, that can lead to some really interesting twists and turns, and I'm excited for all of those. I also was surprised by how creepy this story was. I know it's science fiction. I vaguely had a sense of what it was about. I've seen some previews for the show. People have described it to me in very brief terms before, but honestly, I really didn't know much about the premise. And even once I had picked it out as the book that I wanted to read for this project, I didn't really look anything up. I didn't really read the synopsis because I do tend to just dive right into books. Once I've decided that I'm going to read something, I don't really have a need to read that much more about it. So I didn't really know the premise at all. And it turns out that the premise is pretty creepy and does a really fantastic job of making the reader feel very claustrophobic. I found myself really empathizing with the main character, really empathizing with the protagonist's wife, and the ways in which they start to go a little bit stir crazy, the ways in which they start to make decisions that maybe on the outside you're like, oh, I don't know about that decision, but yeah, I get it. If you're there in that moment, that feeling of being stuck, being claustrophobic, being curious, feeling like an animal stuck in a cage or an animal stuck in a bear trap ready to gnaw their own leg off to get out of that. It's got big curiosity killed the cat energy overall in the book. Yeah, and I loved that. I loved that it just dove in, and I love how creepy it was. It's like I said, it's my first book by Hugh Howey. I really loved it. I'm really excited to read more. Really excited to see what the TV show does. I was already planning to watch the show, but now I am going to definitely read everything in the universe before I start the show. I'm also really excited to get a chance to chat with Martine about their opinion of the adaptation. Speaking of Martine, I hope that you know how much all of your bookish friends admire and adore you, and how much fun we all had reading something that you have loved. I can't wait to chat more about Wool with you now that I can finally tell you that I have read it.
Hello humans, and hello Martine especially. It's just Anna here, also known as Kindle and Illuminate, with my contribution to our 12 TBRs of Friendship video. And first I want to start with a quick shout out to Lizzie for organizing this and getting us all together and editing the video, and everyone else who so enthusiastically jumped in to celebrate the one and only Oh Captain Our Captain, Martine. So for this video, I picked a book that Martine gave 5 stars to that I had not previously read. And let me tell you, every time I have had to admit for literal decades that I have not read this book, people act shocked. So thank you, Martine, for finally, albeit unknowingly, giving me the impetus to read Margaret Atwood's classic, The Handmaid's Tale. Firstly, 5 stars from me too, obviously, and easily. This book is so hugely important in our culture and in the literary canon, and it didn't earn that position by being badly written, you know? It's extremely compelling as a read. It's completely immersive and absorbing and compelling, and other words that kind of all mean the same thing. It sucks you into a world that you probably don't really want to be sucked into. And in some ways I would call it a difficult read because the actual content, the premise, the situations and events that unfold during the story are very hard to read. They're heavy, they're hard to stomach. It's a possible future that feels altogether too possible right now, as well as a reflection of pieces of our history that are hard to look at. And so that doesn't make for easy reading in that sense, but on the other hand, Atwood's prose is so easy to read. It's so easy, like I said, to just get absorbed in it, get just swept along in the strength of her writing. It's not a high action adventure story or a thriller, but it's still a page turner despite being in many ways a very quiet and internal kind of book. I went in thinking that I knew a pretty good amount about the book already, considering how often it's referenced, just, you know, culturally, and I've seen bits and pieces of the show, although I haven't actually sat down and watched it because I hadn't read the book yet. But I didn't know really how the plot unfolded or how it ended. And I'm not going to give any spoilers for the ending in this video, don't worry. But I did just want to talk obliquely about the ending because for me, the way that Atwood concludes the book and the way that she reframes the whole thing and turns it around on the reader really hit me like a truck, you know, like, especially as someone with a background in history, academia, and in archival work, it was very impactful. And that's as close as I'll get to spoiling it. So now that I have finally actually read The Handmaid's Tale, also, I'm super curious about the TV show and about the graphic novel adaptation, which I already checked out from the library. And I'm curious about how the book has been adapted to different media and different ways of storytelling. And I'd love to chat about that with you sometime, Martine. So thank you again for getting me to finally read this important book, even though you didn't know you were getting me to read it. And thank you for being just an all-around lovely, wonderful person. And I hope you enjoy the rest of these videos.
Hi Martine, it's Minnie from Wintertown. I heard you really liked reading Sunrise on the Reaping this past year, and I would love to talk about it. This book was one of my favorite books of 2025, and I have a lot to say. Since Sunrise on the Reaping is a futuristic novel hidden behind a sense of nostalgia, I feel like this book gives us the perfect combination of fan service and showing us darker elements that remind me of our real world a lot. It shows us what our world could turn into, basically. It got me flipping through the pages so quickly to see what would happen next, even though we all know how it ends, because we've seen the effects of it in later books. Seeing this part of the story through Hamish's eyes was so valuable when it comes to seeing the more gruesome ways of the capital, like the censorship and distance between the capital citizens and the districts. I thought that was done really well. The parallels really took me back to when I read and saw The Hunger Games for the first time. The genuine fear for the characters I felt back then all came back to me while reading this book. I love these characters, and even though what happens in this book is devastating, I love that we got to know more about them and what they've been through. The casting and sneak peeks we got for the movie all look amazing. The teasers and set photos are absolutely blowing me away. I like that it looks aesthetically different from the other movies. It shows that we are in a different time now, telling a new story. I'm definitely going to be one of the first people in the cinema, and I cannot wait to cry my eyes out.
Wow, what great books and great friends. Martine, I hope you enjoyed watching us review some of your favorite books. And for everyone else watching, I hope you got some good recommendations because Martine has excellent taste. Make sure to check out their channel, linked below, because they are creating wonderful content over there. Also keep an eye out on Bailey's channel, Is Bailey Reading, also linked below, for the next and final installment in this series, coming tomorrow. Bye!